Hey guys, today we're going to talk about percent change. So percent change, we're going to use it to solve these kind of problems. You invest $250 in an investment account. If you earned 15%, how much is your account worth now? So in all of these situations, we're going to use the same basic formula. We have a percent change, so we're going to have our original amount times 1 plus whatever the percent change is, and that's going to equal our new amount. Okay, so we start just by plugging in the numbers. We know our original amount is $250, and we know that the percent was 15%. So we go ahead and we plug those in. Okay, now it's just straight math across. We reduce 1 plus 0.15 is 1.15. 250 times 1.15, you can do that on your calculator. And we end up with $287.50 is the new price. So if you earned 15%, if your account increased by 15%, you now have $287.50. You invest $250 in an investment account, but this time you lost 15%. How much is your account worth now? We're going to make one minor change to our equation. Okay, instead of a plus percent change, now we're going to use minus. We lost money, so we know that it went down by a percent. Okay, the rest of it still looks exactly the same. We still plug in our 250. We still plug in our 0.15. A reminder: anytime you use percents in math, we change it to a decimal first. So we do this 1 minus 0.15, and now we get 0.85 for that. 250 times 0.85, again, just pull out your calculator. $212.50 is the new amount. Okay, so you lost 15%, you're now down to $212.50. But we can also use this same basic formula to find the percent change if we're given a starting value and an ending value. So, for instance, you invest $250 in an investment account. Just keeping it short and simple, I didn't change $250. Your account is now worth $281.25. What is the percent change in the account? So we're going to go back to our plus sign. And anytime we don't know the percent change, we're going to use this plus sign, and I'll explain why later. So we plug in what we know. We know $250 is the original price. We know that $281.25 is the new price. What we don't know is the percent change. So I just put a question mark in here. You can put an X, you can put a Y, you can put a P for percent, you can put a C for change, you can put a squibbly line that you make up your own. You want to go like Prince and just make up your own love symbol, put it in there. It doesn't really matter what placeholder you put in here. We just know it's the variable that we don't know. So that's what we're trying to solve for. So the first step in this is to do our order of operations backwards. The first step is to divide by 250. Okay. Order of operations, normally we do what's inside the parentheses first, then exponents, then multiply and divide, then add and subtract. But because we're doing it backwards, we're solving for something, we do what's outside the parentheses first. And what's outside the parentheses is this $250 times. Okay, so this 250 times, since there's no symbol in between, it's a multiplication. So the opposite of multiplying by 250 is dividing by 250. So I'm going to do that to both sides. And at $281.25 divided by 250 is $1.125. Now, there's some decimals there that might seem somewhat scary, but there's only 3 of them, so we're good. We can deal with that. The next step, I'm just going to drop those parenthesis signs. There's nothing else left outside of the parentheses, so I don't really need them anymore. You can combine the last 2 steps into one if you want, but I'm making this video for everybody, so some people they might need that extra step. So if you don't, that's fine. So now I just have 1 plus this question mark equals 1.125. The opposite of adding that 1 is subtracting it, so we're going to subtract it off from both sides. And we get this question mark equals 0.125. Now we're going to convert that back to a percent because we were asked what is the percent change in the account. So the account increased by 12.5%. Anytime you're answering a percent change question, you need a direction, increased or decreased, but this one increased by, and then an amount. Okay. In this case, we can see from the beginning 250 to 281.25 is an increase. So it makes sense that we have an increase by 12.5%. Anytime you solve this problem and you have a positive number here, then it means we had an increase. Okay, so let's look at one where we lost some money. So we started out with 250 and then we went down to 225. Okay, still going to use the same formula, and this time I'm not going to change that minus sign, and I'll explain why in a minute. But I don't want to change that. So I'm just going to plug in my 250 and my 225 that I know. Again, same process. We're going to divide by 250 on both sides, drop the parentheses. And now when I go to subtract that 1, I have my question mark equals a negative 0.1. Okay, that negative tells me that it's a decrease. So when we write this out, the account decreased by 10%. So we can look at it and know 250 to 225. It should be a negative because we decreased. That's another way to check your work to make sure it all came out right. Now, if you had changed this to a minus sign because it was a decrease, you'd have a minus sign all the way through. And at the end here, you'd have a minus question mark equals minus 0.1. So the last step you would have to do is divide off both sides by -1. That's just an extra step. So that's why I keep this a plus sign for these, just so I don't have to do that extra step, because I don't want to do extra steps, and I assume you don't either. So the final answer then is the account decreased by 10%. Again, a direction and an amount. 4 simple problems. They all use the same equation, and that's the only equation that you'll need for your homework then. So you should be able to do the homework on this section just with these 4 problems here. So if you need to review them, go ahead, rewatch it. And if you have any questions, as always, shoot me an email.